What's up, everybody? It's me, Ronald Young Jr. And before we get started today, I wanted to remind you that we're in the middle of our Patreon drive for Leaving the Theater. You may have heard me mention this before, but this podcast is entirely independent, which means we don't get a production budget from anywhere except my pockets. So if you enjoy the show and want it to continue consistently, please consider joining the Patreon. It helps to pay for studio time and distribution fees, as well as booking event space for our live shows coming up later this year. And speaking of live shows, when you join the Patreon, you get access to a code that gets you 50% off tickets. So you definitely want to take advantage of that. Most of all, know that contributing to the Patreon is something that you can feel good about because it directly impacts the show. If you're ready to help, go to the show notes and click the link, or go to patreon.com/leavingthetheater right now. That's patreon.com/leavingthetheater, or again, go to the link in our show notes. All right, let's start the show. Some duck species in North America fly south to warmer climates for the winter months. That movement is called migration. I'm Ronald Young Jr., and I'm leaving the theater. All right, this is Ronald, and I am leaving the theater after seeing Migration. Migration, written by Mike White, directed by Benjamin Renner, starring Kumail Nanjiani, Elizabeth Banks, Awkwafina, Keegan-Michael, David Mitchell, Kane, Casper, Jennings, Tresi, Gazal, and DeVito. And per usual, for a complete cast listing, you can go to the link in our show notes. I am here alone today, and you might notice that the sound is a little bit different on this episode, and that is because the batteries in my recorder died, and when I swapped them out, I think I swapped them out with more dead batteries, in which I recorded an episode, so when I went to turn it on today, it would not turn on, so I have to make sure I carry my spares with me. It's funny because I was talking to JC Howard about this, and I said, I'm always prepared. And it was like I set myself up for failure. So anyway, if it sounds a little different today, I apologize. And I apologize mostly to Tom Tyra, who will be mixing this episode. So thank you, Tom. Migration. It is the newest animated movie from Illumination Features, who does films like Despicable Me. And that's really the only film that I know they do, the Despicable Me cinematic universe. This is about a family of ducks, the Mallards, led by Kumail Nanjiani, who are taking a trip down south. They're going from point A to point B. They're going down to Jamaica, as a matter of fact. And I remember when I saw the previews for this, I thought, oh, okay, this looks like kind of a cute movie. I wonder what's going on here. They kind of infer that the ducks head down south and they run into something that they've never seen before. And it shows them kind of running into, like, I think New York City is. There's no like direct reference to, well, there is a direct reference to it being New York City, but it's not like explicitly stated that it's New York City, even though it kind of is and it kind of isn't at the same time. So yes, it's New York that they run into. Now, the previews, the trailers have you thinking that this is a significant fact or feature, but it's really not. Which kind of, watching this movie, I as it gets to the end, I realize that this is through and through a children's movie. There's no part of this that I feel like, this is one of the children's movies that they, you know, when we watch Pixar movies, we watch a lot of these and we're like, they made these for children, but they put a lot of nods in there to adults. This is not one of those. This is a very straightforward children's movie. It's not even like Super Mario where there's like Easter eggs and stuff for us to enjoy because we grew up playing Mario. None of that. This one is straight up for kids. It is a very, very rudimentary message in which Kumail Nanjiani, who doesn't want to leave the safety of the pond. It starts off with him not wanting to leave the safety of the pond. And then with no real catalyst for his change, or the most minor of catalysts for his change, decides that he is going to leave the pond and they are going to migrate south. They migrate south. They run into Awkwafina, who apparently is contractually obligated to be in everything animated now, or literally any movie. Every third movie I see has Awkwafina in it, and her team is working overtime to get her in everything. It's wild. They run into Awkwafina, who is a kooky side character. They run into Keegan-Michael, again, contractually obligated to be in every third movie, especially animated feature films. They run into both of them, and that's part of the journey for them going south. But there's really not much here after that. Like, it's not bad, but it's not even like How to Train Your Dragon, where you get all these like beautiful images and like great fight scenes and like, intrigue and twist and emotion and all that. Like, they're really not giving much to anybody in this one, except to say, like, if you're scared, you should try, which I get it because it's a kid's movie. You know what I mean? But after watching so many, it's hard to watch a movie like this and then having watched other children's movies and not think that children could grasp a more sophisticated message than this. And it just feels like they didn't really try with this one. They just kind of said, let's just make a movie about some ducks going south. So, I mean, it's fine. I would never watch it again. I was very bored by it. I don't think there was anything in it that was so memorable that I'd have to watch again. If I was watching with kids and they wanted to watch it, I would easily put this on. I'm sure they would enjoy it. The theater was full of kids who seemed like they kind of liked it. There's this one kind of jerk kid behind me who he kept talking in his normal voice, which was annoying, but he was clearly done with the movie and he laughed. And when he laughed, he turned to his mother, or whoever was with, he was like, "That's the first time I've laughed in this movie." And then when he got up to leave, he was like, "I laughed 3 times in the movie. 3 times." And I wanted to be like, and I mean, the kid couldn't have been over like maybe between 9 and 11, something like that. And I had a moment where I wanted to be like, "No, bro, you are not that cool. Your mom had to drive you here. Like, I don't know why you think you're so above this. I don't know what else you were going to do on a Saturday at 11 a.m. But like, I don't know, man. When I was 11 years old, being taken to a movie on a Saturday was like the height of the week. So I don't know what's up with this generation of kids. This has turned into a kid rant. But yeah, for all of my friends that have kids, if they are young kids, if they are under the age of 9, I would say they'll probably like this movie just fine. If they're over the age of 9, they're going to be bored by it. Like I was, like probably many of the adults in there where I walked out and there was a couple people that are like, and I might be wrong, but maybe you should watch it yourself and find out. But I don't know. There's a short at the beginning of this movie that involves the bad guy from Despicable Me, the dude in the tracksuit. And I remember saying, man, I sure would love to watch Despicable Me, and I would love to have some minions in this movie, but they're not there. It's just ducks. So not real much to say about that. I think this is it's a fine movie. Like, to be clear, I just want to say, like, you could take your kids to see it, or you could just wait for it to show up. Again, if you have young kids, this is fine for them. Every adult should skip this movie. Like, you are going to be bored. There's nothing much entertaining about it whatsoever. I would give it 2 of 5 stars, and I would rate that for children as well, because as soon as they get, like, there are plenty of children's movies I watch that are still like have some sort of entertaining or redemptive value now, but there are plenty of children's movies that I completely forgot about. If you put it on right now, I'd be like, why are we watching this? So I think I feel good saying this is 2 of 5 stars. I'm trying to separate my own like adulthood from like the whimsy of watching a movie like this. It ain't it. It's fine. 2 of 5 stars. Yeah. And with that, Leaving the Theater is a production of Oh It's Big Ron Studios. Thomas Tyra of Bias Studios is mixing this episode. Thank you, Tom. Show art from Heather Wilder. Theme music by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. For more information about migration, check out our show notes. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or Threads at OHitsBigRound. That's at OHITSBIGRON. You can find out more about this show and other Oh It's Big Round Studios shows by following us on Instagram at Oh It's Big Round Studios and on Twitter at Oh It's Big Round Stew. That's STEW. Leave It at Theater will be back soon. Thanks for listening.